Hello, my name is Patrick Lovelace, and today I'm going to be talking to you about metal detectors. But before we get started, I wanted to give you some background on why I chose this subject. I was in the U.S. military for almost a decade as a bomb squad technician, and my job was to comb the battlefield with metal detectors and find explosive hazards and remove them. I also now work for a military mine detector manufacturing company, so this topic is near and dear to my heart, and I'm excited to share it with you. So let's go ahead and get started. Today we'll discuss three sections and then wrap it up with a summary. First, we're going to talk about the invention of metal detectors. We'll talk about how they've evolved over the years and then some real-world applications of how they're used today. So most people think it was Alexander Graham Bell that designed the first metal detector, where in reality it was a refinement of a French electrical engineer named Gustave Trouvé. He designed the first metal detector in 1874 to remove metal from the human bodies. Jumping forward to 1881, when President Garfield was shot in the chest, Alexander Graham Bell designed a hasty metal detector based off of Trouvé's design to locate the bullet and remove it. Unfortunately, what they didn't realize at the time was that the president was laying on a spring mattress, which apparently was a new invention back then, so not many people had it. And by the time they figured out that the springs in the mattress were giving interference to the detector, it was too late, and President Garfield eventually succumbed from his wounds. But this is the first application of an actual metal detector that we see in history. Over the years, electronics have gotten smaller and smaller, so detectors have evolved in cadence with those. You see the first man-portable detector in 1941. It was actually created by a Polish army lieutenant named Kozaki. And obviously, this invention saved countless lives, but the device itself was very crude. It consisted of a long bamboo pole, the dish search head, a headset with electronics that you had to carry in a backpack. Now, back then, they were still using vacuum tubes and things of that nature, so the electronics themselves were still very heavy and cumbersome. Over the years, the advances in electronics make the detectors more portable. They become more lightweight, the search heads become smaller, and the battery life gets improved based off of technological advances. Vacuum tubes were replaced by transistors, and eventually these advances allow additional features to crop up. So you start seeing detectors that are able to discriminate between types of metals. You have detectors that are microsensitive that can detect the smallest slivers of metals in the ground or on a person. You also see soil compensation so that the detector can actually filter out any minerals that may be located in the ground. And then with really advanced detectors, you can begin to data log. We actually have detectors that can sync with satellites to record data that the detector sees over a period of time. So some of the applications, we don't have enough time to discuss them all, but I'll give a general rundown of a good chunk of them. So the first one is humanitarian. This consists of demining operations, explosive remnants of war removal, and IEDs. So obviously, there's minefields all over the world, and whenever a conflict is resolved or it moves on to another location, there's remnants of war that are left behind, and the military will contract civilian companies to come in and remove these explosive hazards so they're no longer a danger to the community. This includes IEDs. You see this application in Syria and Iraq and places of that nature where you actually have full devices just left over. In security, you see in airports large walk-through detectors, hand wands, even shoe scanners to see if there are any metal in the shoes. And they're used in airports anywhere where there's a large gathering of people or secured locations. For the military, we use them to find dudded munitions, anything that fell from an aircraft that may have dudded, active minefields, and then counter IED detection. And then we also used hand wads to screen detainees. This is another sector that we sell detectors to. You see people that like to go to beaches, look for treasure, artifacts at historical locations, people who lose items, say in hurricanes, they'll actually pay people to comb an area and find their items. And then obviously remnants of war, like old helmets, knives, things like that. So today we discussed briefly the origins of the metal detector, how the technologies evolved over time, and how metal detectors are employed today. I thank you for your attention, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you.